Henry Ford had a habit of following through on all of his plans with persistence, not some of his plans. Can you see that? Do you have a habit of following through? Are you following through on all your plans? Are you going to follow through? Are you going to be persistent? Do you have a habit of following through? But yet I want to be rich. Are you being consistent? Are you being consistent? Are you being persistent? Are you consistent? And for me, I'm excited that we're starting this growth journey together. And I'm just going to dive into this chapter that we're going to see together. So everybody is on the screen, and we're going to always use the line chapter so that we're reading the same things together. And I love this chapter a lot, and why I wanted us to start with this chapter is because for two reasons. This is one chapter in this book that really kicked my butt. It's a chapter that challenged me in the most basic ways and challenged my thinking in different ways. And so I'm going to jump in right from the beginning, and I'm going to be using this numbered chapters, like we said. I'm going to use what's on the screen. Number one, it starts by saying persistence is an essential factor. Can everybody see? Everyone following?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So persistence is an essential factor in the procedure of transmuting desire into its monetary equivalent. The basis of persistence is the power of will. The power of will. The basis of persistence is the power of will. Then it goes in, and I love that sentence because how you transmute, what it's basically saying, how you transmute your desire. And your desire, now guys, listen to this as you're taking notes. Your desire is your starting point. Chapter 2, if you've gone there, says the starting point of all achievements is what? Desire. The starting point of all achievements is desire. So desire is your starting point. Do we get that? So it says persistence is an essential factor in the procedure of transmuting desire. So basically, persistence is an essential factor in the procedure of transmuting your desire, which is your starting point. So your desire is your starting point. The basis of persistence is the power of will. And I love that statement because it's telling us that how you transmute your desire, and your desire, which is your starting point, to what is it telling us? We go from our starting point to our monetary equivalent. The Bible talks about the word becoming flesh. So it first starts with a word. The word, your starting point. So it starts from the word, right? And it ends up in flesh. So you start with your desire. Your desire does nothing until you have seen its monetary equivalent, your arrival point. So I'm going to be teaching these lessons pretty much from a starting point perspective to an arrival point. So it starts by saying persistence is an essential factor in the procedure of transmuting your desire. How do you transmit your desire? And your desire, which is your starting point, your monetary equivalent is your arrival point. This is where you start, and this is your end point. Where do you start? Your desire. What do you want from life? Your desire. For those of you who are going to get hung up with talking about money, okay, I want to lose weight. I am going to be 50 kg. So the desire is the starting point. I want to lose weight. The arrival point is when you are 50 kg. Do you understand that? So starting point, arrival point. Starting point, arrival point. So always have that in mind. Your starting point is the desire. You have not achieved anything yet until you have come to the arrival point. So God sent a word, just because I have to help all my spiritual sisters on the call. God said I always have to find Bible scriptures. They're scratching their head. So God sent a word. That is the arrival point. That's your starting point. The word that God gave you does not do anything, has not been fulfilled until it appears in its arrival point. So if God said you are going to have a baby, that is a word. That is your desire. That word is not fulfilled until you have the baby. Does that make sense? Your arrival point. So you say you want to be rich. And you have a desire to be rich. That's fine. Desire is the starting point of all achievement. You are not rich until you have seen that physical wealth translate in the form that you were expecting it to be, which is your arrival point. How are you transmuting that desire? And that will be helpful for everyone. I think every one of you always try and print out the, that's what I've done. Look, that's how I read mine. This is a new one I picked up yesterday to start. So I print it out and I literally write through it because that will be helpful for you to go through this study that way. So your desire, so we've established together that your desire is your starting point. Your monetary equivalent is your arrival point. That is where you start, and this is your end point. So everybody, I want you to right now, as we start this study, what is your starting point? In your notes, I want you to identify what's your starting point. What's your starting point? Do you have your starting point? If desire is the starting point of all achievement, what's your starting point? First line, persistence is an essential factor. It's an essential factor in the procedure of transmuting your desire into its monetary equivalent. What is going to be your monetary equivalent as you're going through this study? What's your starting point? What's your arrival point? When you get into your car and you want to go to church or go somewhere, you set your arrival point, right? So you know where you are, you know where you want to go. If you don't know where your arrival point is, then you don't have a desire. You're not going anywhere. So if you're going to be in this study of Think and Grow Rich, what is your arrival point going to look like? Is this helping? Do you have an arrival point? Do you have a picture of where you want to be? Until what is going to be the monetary equivalent? Persistence is the essential factor in the procedure of transmuting, of taking my desire as it is now, till it sees its monetary equivalent. Okay? Love this study. And the basis of persistence is the power of will. The power of will. The basis of persistence, the power of will. The one thing that I've got to learn is that when he speaks about the power of will, here, he's not talking about physical power as we understand willpower to be. He's talking about the intellectual faculty of focus. So let's read that line differently. The intellectual faculty of focus. The question for all of you is, how do you focus? How do you focus? What do you need to focus from your starting point and to your end point? How do you need to focus from your starting point and your end point? Everybody got on this call. You say you want to be rich. Read something for 14 days. You are not going to apply the power of focus to learn, to study, to read. But you are hoping and wishing, abracadabra, somehow I would get to my arrival point. If you have never been somewhere before, are you just going to wing it with the car and just go there? You are going to have to focus on what the sat-nav is telling you to do. The power of focus. So let's read that line differently now. It says, the basis of persistence is the power of will. Willpower and desire, it says, willpower there, focus. So when you see willpower, change it to focus. Focus and desire. Do you see that statement changes? Focus and desire when properly combined. So have all the desire you have in life. If you don't have focus, are you ever going to arrive at your arrival point? Focus, your focus and your desire when properly combined. So you can't just have a desire, especially those of us as Christians. We're so good with hope and wish. You can't just have a desire. It's not good enough just to have a desire. There has to be focus. Focus and desire, when properly combined, make an irresistible pair. So desire can walk alone by itself. Desire needs to have focus attached to it. It needs to have focus as its constant companion. I want to get to an arrival point. I have a desire to be wealthy, but am I focused? Am I focused? What do you need to focus from your starting point and your end point? Question for you, you need to be asking yourself. And your starting point is what you desire. And the point is the outcome you're looking for, your end point, the outcome you're looking for. You know, the in-between starting point to your arrival point can only happen with focus mixed with desire. How you get from your arrival point, how you get from your desire, your starting point, to your arrival point can only happen when you properly combine that irresistible pair with willpower, which is focus, and desire. When properly combined, make an irresistible pair. You see, I've also learned that, guys, for those of us who are Christians, this is how you build faith. Faith is that journey. Faith is that journey. This is how you build faith. Faith is that journey from your starting point to your arrival point. That journey from your starting point to your arrival point, that is the in-between, is how you build faith. You build your faith through sustained effort, coming back and doing it, over and over again. I failed yesterday, but I'm going to show up again today. I failed yesterday, but I'm going to show up again today. I pulled 5 kg yesterday. It was hard, but I'm going to keep going. And then all of a sudden I can push 10, I can push 15. I started a business. I failed, but I have set an arrival point. So it doesn't matter what is thrown at me. I am going to keep going. The in-between, the journey between the desire and the end point, the journey between my starting point, which is my desire, the starting point of all achievement is my desire, and my arrival point, what I see I want from life. I want to be wealthy by so time. I want to have this by so time. I want to see this in my life by so time. And you are trusting God, but you're not willing to build the faith. Because faith is built in that in-between. Faith is built in that journey. So somebody asked me, how do I increase my faith? Are you willing to take the journey from your starting point till your end point? Are you willing to go through all that is going to make you go through, coming back, doing it again? Read the chapter today. You are going to be angry with me when you read it. You are going to feel bored. Then you get back again tomorrow. You do it. Then you get to day 6. You missed it. Then you come back. You read it. That's how you build faith. The in-between. The doing it over and over again. The journey from here to there. In line 6, it says that what they have. Let me read from line 5. I'm going to jump quickly. It says, men who accumulate great fortunes are generally known as cold-blooded and sometimes ruthless. Often they are misunderstood. What they have is willpower. Remember, willpower? What they have is willpower. Talking about focus. What they have is willpower. What they have is willpower. Remember, willpower, focus, which they have mixed with persistence. And then what? They placed back of their desires to ensure the attainment of their objectives. They have focus, which they mix with persistence. Guys, whatever you're trying to achieve, there has to be focus. And you're going to mix your focus with persistence and place it back on your desires, their starting point, to ensure that they are achieving their ending, the attainment of their objectives, their starting point, desire. They mix it with persistence and focus such that they get to their attainment of their objective. He talks about in line 9 that Henry Ford, which we all know, had a habit, underline that. Henry Ford had a habit of following through on all of his plans with persistence, not some of his plans. Can you see that? Do you have a habit of following through? Are you following through on all your plans? Are you going to follow through? Are you going to be persistent? Have you been persistent? Have you followed through? He talks about the majority of people in line 11. The majority of people are ready to throw their arms and purposes overboard and give up at the first sign of opposition or misfortune. Is that you he's talking about? Coach, the people who are ready to always give me excuses. Is that you he's talking about? Coach, I wasn't feeling too well. I walked into my office this morning. I had a coaching session already this morning. I forgot I had a 5 o'clock. I thought our session was 5 o'clock. And I am tired. But I've told myself, I am no longer going to be sitting down to coach. I'm no longer going to sit down to do these things. I have every reason to want to sit down. And because my wife used the office yesterday, so the chair was in place. But I have to build the habit of following through on what I say I will do. So nobody is watching. Nobody knows that I've made a decision that I would no longer be sitting down. I had to get the chair against how I feel. I'm tired. That is honestly how I feel. My legs are hurting as I'm speaking. So it's not like I'm just trying to dance. No, the legs are hurting. So I'm moving around to make it comfortable. Right? Do you understand? Because the guys who make a difference, they have a habit on following through on whatever they say they are going to do. Do you have the habit of following through? It says the majority of people are ready to throw their arms and purposes. I was ready to throw away I must always stand. And I wanted to tell myself, it's just one day, it's just one morning. Everybody knows you've been busy. But the guys I am trying to be, they have a habit of following through. The calls on Sunday is 6 o'clock. Do you have a habit of showing up on time, or do you have a habit of always being late? And you want to be wealthy? Do you have a habit of when you are told to do something, of following through? Read the chapter every day and share on the screen and share in the group what you are learning. Do you have a habit of following through? But yet I want to be rich. The majority of people are ready. Do you want to be the majority of the people that are ready to throw their arms and purposes overboard and give up at the first sign of opposition or misfortune? It says, a few carry on despite all opposition. Despite all opposition. The children are going to not go to bed on time. You are going to lose money. Something is going to, whatever it is. It says, a few carry on. A few carry on despite all opposition until they attain their goal. Can you guys see that? Are you one of those few, or are you one of the few? Are you going to be in the majority, or are you going to be in the few? See, two different things. The majority would throw their arms and purposes overboard, but a few are the people who would carry on despite all opposition.